Hey guys and gals, today's topic is going to be about heat stress, and I'm going to be your host, the Homestead Prepper. And I'm doing this video for a couple reasons. One of the reasons is I really don't hear a lot of people out there talking about prepping for the heat. A lot of people are concerned, a lot of preppers are concerned with splitting firewood to keep warm and cooking and water purification and obtaining water and food and guns and ammo and just all the list goes on and on. But I want you to be aware that heat stress during a crap hit the fan scenario can be a very deadly thing if you're not prepared for it or if you don't know what to look for. And here in Florida, I know a lot of people, they live in an air-conditioned house. They get in their air-conditioned car and they drive to their air-conditioned place of employment. And they complain about how hot it is. But if the crap were to hit the fan and you weren't acclimated to the heat, you were acclimated to an air-conditioned office and you had to get out and exert yourself, you might get some type of heat illness. So this is what I want you to be aware of. And another reason I'm bringing this up is I've had heat exhaustion happened to me a couple times, and it's always, and by the way, it's completely avoidable if you stay hydrated and you know the warning signs where you can cool off. But the other day, the way it happens for me, it happens the same way every time, is I'm out working in the hot sun, really physically exerting myself, trying to push through a problem, trying to get it done. And that's what happened the other day. I wanted to finish up and I didn't want to come back the next day. And boom, it starts off with me a mild headache. And then if I keep working, the headache gets more intense and then I get nauseated. And then I should have never let it go that far. But I get working and I'm not drinking water and the body just can't get rid of that heat. And it's letting you know you need to calm down, take a break. And when the crap does hit the fan, if you're going to work in the hottest part of the day, which I don't recommend that, you need to work with a buddy, someone who knows what to look for. You know, if they're watching you work and they're saying you're next to the guy and maybe you're digging or doing something and they get really flushed and they look funny and they quit sweating, y'all need to take a break. Cool off and get some water. When the crap hits the fan, you may not have air conditioning or the luxuries that we have today to cool yourself off. I was working on a job a few years ago, and it was a mini warehouse, and they hired a carpenter out there, a young man, and he comes to work, and it was August, and it was probably about 90-95% humidity, and it was probably about 96 or 97 degrees out there, which is a perfect time to get heat stroke, because the heat index is so high. Well, he was wearing a sweatshirt, and we asked him, what the deal with the sweatshirt was, and he says, well, I don't want to get sunburned. Well, we told him that, you need to take that shirt off and you put on something lighter, or put some sunblock on or something. And, of course, he knew better than we did. And about 2 o'clock that afternoon, he was unconscious, and we had to call the firefighter paramedics out there to save that young man's life. And they were able to cool him off, and they did save him. But in a crap hit the fan scenario, if you don't know what you're dealing with here, it could be a very bad outcome. So this is just what I want you to be aware of. And you can avoid heat stroke by taking breaks in the heat and drinking 8 ounces of water every 10 or 15 minutes. Try and avoid caffeine, coffee, tea, alcohol, smoking. There's a lot of factors that contribute to a heat injury. How hot is it outside? What's the humidity? Radiant heat. Maybe you have some other heat source around you. What's the wind speed? How much you weigh, your heat, are you acclimated to the heat? What kind of physical fitness shape are you in? Your medical condition, your age, prescription medication, those all can affect us. So I just want you to be aware of it, and I want to show you a couple things that I'm doing to beat the heat. And one is I need to slow down and always have a cooler on the job. And I am somewhat acclimated to the heat because I have to go in 120 or 130 degree attics from time to time at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and encounter that 90 or 95% humidity up there. So I know a little bit about it. So let me show you a couple things I'm doing to beat the heat. Okay guys, I just want to show you a couple tricks that I use personally to beat the heat. And I usually have a couple bandanas on me. And if I'm going up in a really hot environment like an attic and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, what I'll do is I'll wet the bandana and I'll take some ice out of my cooler. Put some ice in there like that. Take it, fold it up. And no, I don't put this on my forehead. What I do is I put this on the back of my neck. And if I can keep the back of my neck cool in a hot environment, usually I stay a lot cooler. So that's one trick I do. Something we've been doing here recently is my wife bought one of these. And you wet it and it gets cold. And this looks kind of funny because we washed it and we put it in the dryer and then it said don't put it in the dryer. She cut a strip off and I put this around my forehead, and that's where I get a lot of my heat, and there seems to be a never-ending supply of sweat. And this thing, I put it on and I've got a cool head. This thing, and you tie it on with a bandana, works really good. And as a matter of fact, we bought a couple more of these things. This is something I run across right here, and you just snap it open. It can ride up on the dash of your truck and it's supposed to get cool. I've never tried it, but I will be trying it. And I just want to say a word about hats. That hat right there does not work for me in the heat. If it's cold outside, if you're hunting, I think it's great. But this thing holds in heat, and that's where I get a lot of my heat is on my head. So this does not work for me. So I don't usually wear one of those in the heat. This right here, if I want to be out in the sun, at least this can breathe, and this will afford me some protection and some ventilation. So. Another thing I'll do to beat the heat is you can get one of those little squirrel cage fans from Harbor Freight, and it has a plug on it and a light and all that. If I'm working in an enclosed area, I'll get one of those and turn it on and have some air blowing on me. In closing, I just want to restate that heat stroke is a severe medical emergency. Of course, it is completely avoidable too. But once you have heat stroke, even with immediate treatment, it can still be life-threatening, or the person can still get long-term complications from it. So if you see someone getting heat stroke, call 911, get the professionals out there immediately. What you can do until they show up is you can have the person lie down. If they're not unconscious, you can try and give them some fluids, elevate their feet, put a fan on them, put them in the air conditioning, apply some cold compresses, wet them down, do whatever you can to cool that, get that core temperature down. Like I said, it's very, very serious. And if y'all have anything you can add to this, I'd be really interested in hearing it. Homestead Prepper out.